Hey everybody, welcome back to homerecordingmadeeasy.com, learningtomix.com, and here on my YouTube channel. And welcome to a new video. This time out, we're going to take a look at the first video of what's going to become a kind of a little mini series on these Chris Lord Algae all-in-one kind of plugins. And you can see the one that we have on the screen here. We're going to be looking at the Chris Lord Algae drum plugin this time around, and then we're going to take a look at the vocals, the bass, the guitar, and the acoustic or unplugged plugin as well in future videos. So I'm working on one of my quick mix products for January 2018, and I was using this plugin and I thought this would be a good opportunity to start this series. So if you want to know what is the quick mix series, you might be asking yourself, well, I'm glad you asked. So the quick mix series are mixing tutorials that I have available on homerecordingmadeeasy.com. You can go check those out along with the Made Easy series, so make sure that you do that. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button below if you like what you see in this video. And for more tips, tricks, concepts, and training around everything home recording, mixing, and mastering, be sure to go out to homerecordingmadeeasy.com and also go to learningtomix.com if you want to join a community of mixing engineers at all skill levels that are looking to get better at the craft of mixing. Go check me out with Pete Woj, my partner in crime at learningtomix.com. So let's head over to Studio One here and take a look at this plugin. So what I like about the Chris Lord Algae all-in-one kind of plugins, and again, this is the drum module, is that they're really simple to use. All the different plugins, as I mentioned earlier, guitars, vocals, bass, and the unplugged plugin are laid out the same way. So we're going to take a look at the layout. And these things are really intended to throw them on your tracks. You move a couple of faders and you can instantly get a decent really sound going without having to get too technical about compression and EQ curves and all that stuff. So for beginners and intermediates that are struggle with compression, struggle with EQ, and not sure what frequencies to kind of hone in on as far as EQ is concerned, or don't want to deal with threshold, attack, release, and all that stuff when it comes to compressors or what kind of compressor, it all kind of does it right under the hood here. So it's great for that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me, because as an instructor and as a teacher who teaches audio mixing for a living, I'm always a big advocate of learning how to use EQ effectively, learning all the different functions of a compressor, how to use them, when to use them, and why. And that's why I created some training products on my website that you can check out called EQ Made Easy and Compression Made Easy, where we do a deep dive so you could really get a full understanding. So these kind of take that away, where you really don't need that deep understanding. And part of me likes it because it's simple, and part of me dislikes it because it almost doesn't allow you, or doesn't force you to really learn how to effectively use EQ and compression, if that makes any sense. But anyway, they sound great, and these are great plugins. Now, these are made by Waves, and it's throughout different times of the year, Waves always put these on sale. I think I picked this up for $25 US, so this is a great plugin to have. And if you want something down and dirty and quick, these are great. And I did an entire mix with these all-in-one plugins. So let's take a look at the drum plugin. So now again, they're all laid out the same. At the top left hand here, we have our different drums: kick, snare, toms, overheads, rooms, and cowbell. So this happens to be on the kick drum, the one that you're looking at now. So we have it on kick. We have our input slider here, and above that, we'll play back some audio in a second. You have this little LED here, and the key to this is you want to make sure that you push the input signal enough to where the LED lights up kind of an amber on every kick hit. You don't want it to be in the red, you'd be clipping. You don't want it to be in the green, although the green is okay. You want to kind of be in that yellow amber range. That's the optimal input level for these plugins, and it says that in the manual. So we'll look at that in a second. Next to our input sensitivity fader, we have our input meter here, which is self-explanatory. Then in the center section is where we have all our controls. We have our EQ, we have bass and treble. Okay, and each one of these have three different modes, if you will. So on our bass, for example, you can look here where the yellow arrow is, this button. We have sub frequencies, the lower frequencies, and the upper frequencies. And you don't really need to know what range, what frequencies exactly are they. That's what's the beauty of this, I guess. If you want to look at it that way, you could just click this button, go from sub to lower to upper, and see how it sounds. Okay, same thing with treble. You have roof, top, and bite. Okay, and then next to that, you have a compressor here, where again, just like with the compressor, the EQ, you have more or less bass, more or less treble, plus or minus 10 dB. On the compressor side here, again, you have three types of compression, if you will. You have a push, you have a spank, and you have a wall, which is really over compression, really slamming it as hard as possible. Okay, and then you can shut it off by just pushing it a fourth time. The light will go out, and that means it's off, and then we're at push. Okay, then we have a reverb, which is kind of cool. And we have a studio sounding reverb, a club, and a hall. Okay, or you can shut it off, self-explanatory. And then we have a gate, a soft gate and a hard gate. And I don't use the gate too often. I'm not a big fan of gates, but for things like toms and stuff, it could be very helpful. Next to that, we have our output meter here, and then our output fader here. So if we're cranking up our input, we can lower our output so we can level match the plugin to try to get the volume as close as we can to the same with the plugin engaged as disengaged, so you can really hear the tonal difference. Also, with all the Waves plugins, if you click on this load button, they have a set of a set of plugins that Chris Lord-Alge was helped craft, plugins, a set of presets that Chris Lord-Alge helped craft. So for the kick, you can see we have a thing called Start Me Up, Bang, Exaggerate, Help, Help Less. You know, they have kind of these funny kind of names, Rock 1, Rock 2, Pop Low. You can always check those out as well, and then you can tweak the plugin. You can see we have one for snare, we have one for toms, for overheads, rooms, and so on and so forth. So those are all pretty cool. So what I've done now is I've kind of looped a section of this song here, and I'm just soloing up the drums. And as you can see on our drums, we're all down here in brown. Okay, we have a kick, snare, top and bottom, toms 1 and 2, overhead, and rooms. And I have the only other plugin I have on these drum tracks, because this is a mix I'm doing for an instructional video. I have the Waves NLS, a console emulation on all of them, and then I have the CLA drums. That's all I have. No additional compression or EQ or anything like that. Okay, that is all going down to a drum bus, and on that drum bus, again, we're using the NLS just to give it a little bit of color. And then I have a tape machine here as well. Now you'll see I have the Pro EQ by PreSonus here, and I have it turned off because I did some, in the mix, I did some additional EQing on this. Because the one thing that I'm not a fan of about these plugins, I'll say right up front, the only thing I don't like about this particular plugin, or all the CLAs for that matter, is they only have bass and treble. They don't have a mid-range control. And so for things like overheads, you can't cut the mid-range. Okay, so I put an EQ on the bus to kind of cut some of that boxiness that drums tend to have, but I've shut that plugin off, so you're not hearing that. All you're hearing is the console emulation and the Chris Lord-Alge drums plugin. So let's go ahead, let's just listen back to these drums as a whole, and what I'll do is I'll highlight all these, and I will bypass, about halfway through the loop, I'll bypass it and take the CLA away, okay? Let me shut off this EQ on the overhead too. You can see I also did a little EQing with the mid-range on the overheads. Let me take that away as well, so you're not hearing that. Okay, so here we go. So here is with the CLA, and then I'm going to take it away. Okay, and then you can hear the difference. That's the original drums. Again, that's before. Okay, so as you can hear, pretty dramatic difference, and you actually hear some reverb on that as well. And that's because we have some reverb, right, on the plugin itself, and I'm using the club setting for the reverb, so we don't have to have a separate bus with a separate reverb. So just by throwing that on and twisting moving a couple of the faders, you can instantly get a passable drum sound from something that was completely raw to a real passable drum sound. So let's just take a look at the kick for a second here, and I'll just kind of show you a couple of these. I'm not going to go through it on every single track, just to kind of show you what I kind of did here. So on the kick drum, we got it on the kick setting. Okay, now we have the sub. Just lower. That's the upper setting of the bass EQ. So you can hear when I go from sub to lower to upper how you can hear the low end of the kick drum, that you can hear the EQ curve kind of change. Not as low. And as you can see, we're hitting the amber setting, right? That's with no bass EQ. The sub. There's the original kick drum. Big difference. Okay, we'll take a look at the treble here. Let me shut it off. This will be more of the beater. That's bite. A little bit more slap. Roof. Now the roof, you can hear it actually takes away some of the top end. You would think it would be even more high end, but during the recording process, they might have rolled off the really top end. So that information might not have been there in the recording part of it, understand? So I think it sounds better with bite. Now you can also hear the snare bleeding through, but that's the nature of drums. Top. Let's move over to compression. Spank. So now as I go to the wall on the compressor, you can hear the snare get a little bit louder. Why? Because they're compressing it more and we're bringing up that snare in the mix. So we'll turn off the compression. Push, you get a little bit more thud. Spank, it's not as much, a little bit more pillowy. And then you can turn the compressor down. Once you pick which one you want to go with, then you can just dial in how much you want. There we go. Now here's our reverb. Hall, not appropriate for a kick drum. Or no reverb. I like a little reverb on my kick drum. So now if you want to get rid of that snare, we can try the gate. We have a hard gate and a soft gate. So it kind of dampens down the snare. Let's see if we go to hard. Snare's almost non-existent now, right? So you can do it like a hard gate and then kind of turn down the sensitivity a little. So if you want to get rid of the snare altogether. The thing about a gate though, and this gate works pretty well, but the thing about a gate is, now this particular kick drum, it's pretty straightforward through the whole song. There's not a lot of double kick action. There's not a lot of, it's pretty quarter note-ish. So it works pretty well. But you want to be careful with the gates in general, because a lot of times what it can do is it can clip and cut off an actual hit, and it can sound kind of choppy. And again, we're doing this in solo. You'd want to do this in the context of a mix, but that's how the gate kind of works. But I don't typically like gates all that much, to be honest. They have their place. Okay, and then again we have the output. So again, if we bypass this, that was the original kick drum. So you get a really nice kick drum sound pretty quickly. Let's take a look at the overheads and then we'll wrap up this video. We're not going to go through every single drum. There's really no need to. But if we go just to the overheads, let's just see what we got there. Now, as I said earlier, the one thing I don't like about the Chris Lord Algae all-in-one plugins is they don't have a mid control. And things like overheads, you can hear that boxiness in those overheads. And that is why I followed it up with, let me pin this, but I turned it off for this demonstration. I followed it up with a Pro EQ because I wanted to get rid of some of the ring and some of the boxiness. And I also took it out. I put an EQ on the drum bus, as I showed you earlier, to get rid of that boxiness. So you can do that as well, but we're going to get rid of that because I just want you to hear this plugin. So again, we're on the overhead setting now, okay? So pushing the amber to the LED, pushing up the input sensitivity to get kind of that amber optimal setting. Okay, I don't have any subs on here. I kind of want no bass in the overheads. I want to kind of roll that off. On the treble, we're on top and we'll cycle through it. On the compressor, we're on spank to give it a little bit more compression, to bring it a little bit more of the room out. And then we got a little bit of reverb as well. Roof. Pretty musical. When you go to wall on the compressor, you can hear how much it compresses now. No reverb. Studio, we'll go to club. So that's before. Now we're compressing it really heavy, that's why it's gotten a lot louder. Normally, I was on spank. Before, after. So again, it's a great plugin to just kind of get them on your tracks, dial them in very quickly. You can get something that's kind of raw and get it sounding really, really good without a whole lot of technical knowledge again around EQ and compression, although again I don't advocate that. I want you to learn about EQ and compression, how to effectively use it, because those are the two most important things that you need as an engineer to create a great mix, is to understand EQ and compression, how to effectively use them. And those two things, and those things take, a lifetime to learn how to use effectively. We're all still learning how to do that, me, myself included. But this is a kind of a shortcut way to doing it. And again, if you're a beginner and you just want to get something that sounds great, you just throw these on here, you dial them in, and they sound pretty good, and they're hard to make them sound bad. And then you can always add, as I did, some additional EQ if you want to work on the mid-range or you want to do some extra stuff. But this gets you in the ballpark very, very quickly. And again, for 29 or 25 US dollars, you really can't go wrong. Normally these run about 150 bucks, but again, Waves has these things on sale throughout the year, all different times. Just go to waves.com and check them out. And you could demo them as well. These are great. They don't take up a lot of CPU. They're very CPU light, and they sound great. So this is the first of several videos we'll do in this series. This is the drum module by Chris Lord-Alge in Waves. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, if you want more tips, tricks, concepts, and training, go over to homerecordingmadeeasy.com. Check out what I have going on over there. Check out the Quick Mix series and the Made Easy series. And also, again, please go to learningtomix.com and check out that mixing community. You'll really dig that, and hit that subscribe button below. Share this video with others. And until the next video, my name's been David with homerecordingmadeeasy.com, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.